Okay, recently somebody asked me to go through my editing process. This is shot on a Canon 1DX yesterday. Fall day, pretty overcast, but we've got one shot in here with some sunlight. So you can see some of these on the right that I'm trying to get it back from where it originally was, which is is the after editing. So let's go through and talk about some of the things that that I found to be an issue. First of all, pink in the faces is something that I hate. I created this little action, but basically all you're doing is changing the color of the hues, which will vastly affect all of the colors in here. So I'm going to pull these a little bit this way and then the yellow a little bit back. And already we can see it's helping out with their faces. In digital, the brighter something is, the less saturated it is. We pull up these a little bit, and that continues to take some of the color out. Now Canon, I just recently switched, and I found shoots relatively pink in the skin tones. Now this was kind of a chilly day, so I'm sure that contributed. But you can change in the red primary. I just go 7 here and then -7 here, and then again that gives it a more yellowy tone, back to where we first started. Now you can see that the pink in their shirts is a little bit changed. Once we add some contrast, it'll come back, but you really just have to ask yourself what's most important. And when batching out 40 images pretty quickly, instead of going in and masking in Photoshop, I found this to be a pretty good answer. Now, not a whole lot of contrast in this image. So I really recommend a vignette to kind of get some of the colors back. So let's do that next. You can go down, you can go down a lot, but this looks pretty good. It brings them forward in the shot and it's not that noticeable. So I really like that a lot. The next thing we're going to do is sharpen. I have all of my settings already done for this. There's a guy that he put together this really great sharpening preset for me. That's probably a little bit much. But when we zoom in 100%, you can see that I was a little bit front focused, but that's fine. Everybody's still coming in pretty sharp. Okay, next would be kind of adding some more contrast in. I usually like to do the blacks, and look at the color come right back into their shirts. This is where it started. This is where we're at. So it's still on the orange side, not super true color, but I love that. If you ever think the eyes are getting a little bit dark, I usually bump up the darks a little bit, and that helps even out some of the skin tones. You can kind of play back and forth with these guys. That'll also increase your vignette. And then I think we can handle a little bit. I always do vibrance because it doesn't really hit the skin tones that much. It's more for the colors around it. And so from here we can see from where we started to where we are at. You can see the faces are brighter, less saturation in the faces, but the rest of the color has the punch. And let's see how close I was to my my original look. Yeah, pretty close. So that's one of the things that I would do. Here's the group. Again, like kind of darken the faces. A vignette would be great. So we're just going to do the same thing. I'm just going to use my preset, and my settings for my preset are I go down the amount, up on the midpoint, and then increase the feather a little bit just to make it a little bit softer. Okay, I do the same here. We would go 7 and then -7. That's already helping with the colors. The skin fix is just once you guys put this together, it'll just really work well for you. So the luminance about 10 up on everything, and the hue a pretty good amount on the red, not much on the orange, and then negative on the yellows. we're going to add some more contrast into this guy again, get some punch, get some color back in there. But you can see that under the eyes are pretty dark, so we're going to grab our darks again and bring that up, and that's adding a nice little contrast right there. And then vibrance again, we want to punch the color, and that's kind of what we're looking at. So here's our that we started with, so it's almost exactly the same without with the exception of the vignette. But I really like the vignette on this edit actually. You can get in here, see it's pretty crisp. You know, there's some blue in her hair if you want to go in and really work hard on that. But this is fine. This was shot at 85. There's a whole bunch of stuff going on. The horse got spooked, so I backed up to shoot this. Okay, and then lastly, here's the little sun coming in the back of the shot. I think it's super pretty shot. I can already see that it's not super tack sharp. Looks like she's a little soft. So we're just gonna run our sharpening to crisp that up. Again, like perfect place for a vignette. So we'll add our vignette. We can even bring it in more since you can see how far, you know, she doesn't take up that much of the frame. So if we want to bring our midpoint down, that's fine. Her skin tone looks great in this one, and I think that's a result of having the sun come out. So we're going to bring the blacks down. And now sometimes what will happen when you'll do this, the whole scene will look great, but her face is just a little dark. You don't want to change the scene. I use this radial filter, and I usually bump the exposure up just a little bit, and then drag around their faces. Now this did the background instead of their faces, so we're going to click invert mask, and then you can see it almost looks like I shot this with a strobe or had a reflector really up close, which I did not. So Shift M is that one, and then yeah, so it looks like I didn't do a vignette on this last one either, but I kind of like it with the vignette. It really brings her forward. So those are a couple things that I do to kind of get through the problems. I hope this was helpful, and enjoy shooting. See you guys.